Can you be the most amazing, beautiful, perfect woman in the entire world and still get cheated on? Yes, but can you also accidentally, subconsciously behave in ways that attract and keep these types of men in your life? Also, yes. Both can be true. And so that is what we're going to talk about in today's video. Because sadly, we see this happen all the time. Beautiful, successful, seemingly perfect women getting cheated on, lied to, manipulated, or just ending up with weak, unhealthy men. So clearly that is not the answer, and there's something deeper we have to talk about. So in this video, I'm breaking down how to actually avoid cheaters and weak men as much as possible. Hey friend, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and become their best self, live their best life. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. So let's talk about how to avoid letting cheaters and weak men into our lives. But first, before I dive in, there's something that I have to say. Cheating is always 100% his choice and his fault. Nothing about you specifically makes a man cheat, okay? His moral failure is not your responsibility, nor a reflection of your worth. And that is something I want to make sure that you know before we dive into the rest of this video. But also, it's undeniable that your beliefs and your patterns can influence who you entertain, what you tolerate, and how long you stay. Both of those things can be true at the same time. And so once we can start understanding these patterns, we can start taking our agency back and better avoid these types of men. So the first thing and the most important thing is this. Cheating is fundamentally an integrity problem, a character problem, right? And that's probably not news to you. The men who are more likely to cheat and lie and manipulate, they tend to have weaker character and integrity across the board. So when we're trying to avoid these types of men, the most important thing is that a man's character is the priority and the most important thing you need to be evaluating. And that sounds simple enough. We all know how important character is. So why do we miss it? Well, here's how it starts to get a little tricky for your brain, okay? Let's say a woman wants a man who is over 6 feet tall, handsome, really wealthy and successful, and has a nice family. There's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but those traits are relatively scarce, especially in combination with one another. And the more competitive a trait becomes, the more people start overlooking character to get access to that trait. Money, fame, beauty, status, these things are heavily desired and also scarce. And when something becomes scarce, human beings have a tendency to rationalize. Yeah, he's arrogant, but yeah, he flirts with everyone, but yeah, he has a huge ego and he's kind of annoying, but character violations that would have been immediate deal breakers in another person start to become a little more negotiable. Right? We start to try to work with it because she doesn't want to lose access to that trait. So the point here isn't that all rich men cheat or all successful men cheat or whatever, because that's not true. The point is that the more scarce a trait becomes and the more we value and desire that trait, the more we accidentally start deprioritizing character. When you start ranking other things above character, whether it's how attractive he is, how rich he is, how charismatic he is, or even how much chemistry you two have. Whatever it is, the moment those things outrank character, you become much more likely to invite people into your life who are not good for you and who will hurt you. Another reason why we might miss a man's low character is because we can accidentally get caught up in ourselves. Right? So what I mean by that is when she meets him, all her attention turns inward. Does he like me? Is he losing interest? Was that too much? Do you think he likes my dress? She isn't evaluating him anymore. She's evaluating herself based on what she imagines he's thinking. She walked into the relationship hoping to be chosen instead of asking whether she should choose him in the first place. And when all of your attention is on earning someone's approval and if you're good enough, it's very easy to miss or even straight up ignore the red flags in someone's character. In her mind, she's focused on, does he like me? When really the question should be, is this man safe to love? And the thing about a person's character is that it rarely changes. People love to say that people can change. And yeah, some things can change. And people do grow and evolve. A man can eventually make a lot more money. He can build a business, get in shape, learn how to dress, get more confident, finally get a better haircut. All of that can change. But character, on the other hand, is usually different. A man who cheats usually is not honest every single day of his entire life until, bam, he decides to cheat. A man who's super toxic and manipulative, he wasn't genuine and sweet and loving every single day of his entire life until bam, he flips a switch on a random Tuesday. Character is usually a part of who you are, and it's generally established by the time you reach adulthood. And my point in saying that is that it's not something that you should ever expect to change. And you can usually identify a man's character fairly early on in the little things, sometimes things we accidentally overlook. A white lie here, a story that didn't quite add up, the way he talked about his ex, the way something just felt a little bit off, the fact that he lied to his business partner or blames everyone else for his problems. These are easy to ignore in the moment, but they are signals of his character. And how does he treat people he doesn't need? This is one of the biggest tells and something to look for. Waiters, exes, employees, family sometimes, women he's not attracted to. Who is this man when he's not getting anything out of it? Don't miss these moments because they reveal a lot about his character. And the reality is that eventually, you might be in that place too one day, because in a real relationship over a whole life together, you will not always be at your most useful, your most beautiful, or your most easy to love. There will be seasons where you get exhausted, or where you get sick, or where you can't carry the normal load, or honestly, some days where you're just straight up annoying, because everyone's like that sometimes. The point is, how he treats people he doesn't need is a preview of how he'll treat you in the future the moment you stop being so useful to him. Because in the beginning, you're the person he's trying to win. That's fun, that's exciting, but that won't last forever. So the real question isn't just how he treats you now. It's how he treats the people around him who have nothing to offer him, where nothing is in it for him, because one day, that might be you. And how he treats them today is how he'll treat you then. So the biggest indicator of whether that man will cheat or be toxic and be mean to you is his character. I'm not saying that you have to stop caring about his looks or how much chemistry you have or whether he has success and ambition or any of those things, but those things can never outrank character. Well, not if you want to feel truly safe, loved, and secure in your relationship. Remember, a man can make more money over time. He can get more fit. He can learn to eat with his mouth closed. But narcissists will always be narcissistic, and dishonest people will always be dishonest. And on this same page, if you let them, people will show you who they are. Let them show you who they are. I think one of the biggest mistakes women make early on in dating and early on in their relationship is that they start accidentally managing their man instead of observing their man. If you guys are at a party together and you see him in the corner talking to a big group of girls, don't run over there and try to control the situation and pull him away. Let him be there. See what he does. Notice. If he says he'll call you tomorrow, don't remind him. See if he calls. A woman from his past texts him or comes up. Don't tell him how to respond. Notice how he handles it himself. If he gets caught in a little white lie, don't spend an hour yelling at him trying to prove your point. See what he does when he's confronted and notice, does he take responsibility or does he double down? Most advice tells you to watch for red flags, and yes, definitely. But I think the best advice is stop preventing those red flags from appearing. Stop trying to control him, stop stepping in. You let him do whatever he wants. And after he does whatever he wants, you get to decide if that's something you want to stick around for or not, and whether you want to be a part of that. And this is scary because if you let him show you who he is and not try to control him or alter his decisions, he might show you something that you don't want to see, and that sucks. And then you'd have to walk away from someone that you're already getting attached to. I know it sucks, but it's also how you get clarity and learn who he really is. Let him be in situations that test his character. Don't be afraid of it just because you're scared of what might come up, because if it's who he is, it'll come up eventually. Or who knows, you might be pleasantly surprised by how he shows up. It's like that phrase, if you can take him, you can have him. Yes, it hurts, but a man who was capable of being pulled away was gonna be pulled away eventually, and it's better to find out now, 3 months into the relationship, than 10 years in and 1 kid deep. If you let them, people show you who they are. So your job early on is to let them. Now, another thing, if you want to start weeding out the weak men, You have to lean back and stop over-functioning for him. And by over-functioning, I mean taking responsibility for things that don't belong to you, leading the relationship, fixing all the problems. It's when you become the planner for everything. It's when you manage the emotional labor and the connection. It's when you start acting like his mother. You remind him of things. You are the one who calms the chaos and the storms every single time. At first, those things can feel loving, like you're just being generous and a good partner. But when you over-function for him, what happens is that it allows his weakness to go unnoticed. Now, I want to be clear. When a woman over-functions in a relationship, she does not create a weak man, but she does unconsciously select for one, enable him, and hide his weakness from you. In other words, it doesn't change a man's character, but it changes your ability to see it. Here's the thing. Cheating almost always comes from weakness. A man cheats because he couldn't stay faithful. He couldn't end things honestly. He wasn't able to have the hard conversation that needed to be had. So he lied and did the cowardly thing instead. Cheating is weakness in action, in a sense, even if that's just him being pulled into lust. So when you do everything, when you remove those situations where he'd have to step up, and when you take away those situations from him, you don't get to see either his strength or his weakness because your over-functioning is covering it up. Does that make sense? To avoid a weak man, you need to make sure you're not creating the environment for a weak man to thrive. Now, I'm not saying go cold on him and be all like detached. That is not the right approach. You simply lean back, stop taking over, allow him to step up. When you stop over functioning, how does he show up? You will often get the answer pretty quickly. Or how does he show up in moments of friction? How does he handle you saying no? How does he handle being wrong? Or how does he handle disappointing someone? Or not getting his way? Or being uncomfortable and having to sit in it anyway? Does he show strength and composure and integrity and loyalty in those moments? Or does he show weakness, cowardice, and instability? The more you take over, the less clear those things will be. And the more you overfunction for him, the longer his weakness will hide from you. This is something I go really deep on inside Love Alchemy, my relationship course. It's all about staying in your magnetic feminine energy so that you can inspire his masculine energy and inspire his devotion. Because if you want a healthy masculine man, you cannot act like his mother. That's not how it works. You have to be in your healthy feminine energy. It's always a two-way street. So if you want to dive into that, the link for that is down below. Now, lastly, we all know how important the nervous system is when it comes to the decisions we make and the way we unconsciously live our life. But here's the thing you need to understand. Your nervous system is not scanning for what's good for you. It's not looking for what's healthy or safe or in your best interest. It is only scanning for one thing. Whatever is familiar. That's it. That's all it cares about, familiarity. So if your nervous system is dysregulated, or if you grew up around a lot of stress or chaos or instability, or if the past men in your life have been really toxic, have been very unpredictable, or always coming and going, then what does your body and your nervous system see as familiar? Instability, chaos, anxiety, a man you can't quite count on. And whatever is familiar feels like home. Okay, so you will naturally gravitate towards it again and again, unconsciously, without even realizing it. You'll meet the stable, consistent, kind man and feel nothing. And then you'll meet the toxic one and feel everything. The feeling you call chemistry and that attraction you feel, it's not always your intuition pointing to you, yes, I like this one, this is the one, this person is right. Sometimes it's simply recognition of where you've been before. The point is this. If you let your unconscious patterns make your relationship decisions, you will keep choosing what's familiar over what's healthy. Chemistry is not the problem, okay? You can't change how your body feels or reacts in a certain situation. The problem is when you let that feeling of chemistry run the show and make all the decisions for you. And I know how that sounds, choose the safe, stable man. And some of you will think that sounds incredibly boring. It might even sound like settling, like you're supposed to give up the passion in a relationship and you won't ever feel butterflies ever again. But think about it like this, okay? When you're addicted to your phone and you finally get yourself to turn that darn phone off and put it in a drawer and put it away and stop scrolling all day, the first day feels unbearable, right? It's so boring. You're restless, you're bored, you don't know what to do with yourself. But eventually, when you sit through that, something shifts. Not right away, but eventually you start to feel what feels like peace. And eventually, peace starts to feel like your new normal, your new familiar. Choosing a safe man works the same way. When you are used to toxicity and being confused, choosing the healthy, stable man might feel a tad boring. But that doesn't make it wrong. You're just not calibrated to peace and safety yet. There's just a detoxification process that has to happen. The whole point of this video is how to avoid cheaters and weak men. Okay, so going back to my first point, if you want to avoid cheaters and weak men, you need to pick the men with high integrity, high character. There's no going around that. And if you keep choosing the men with low integrity, low character, are toxic, are chaotic, even if that's what you are unconsciously drawn to, then you are going to keep attracting the same experiences in your life. You being disappointed, you being hurt, you being betrayed. So in short, if your familiar is toxic, unstable men, then you cannot just listen to chemistry. And please do not mistake chemistry for healthy, actual compatibility. Now, the other problem is that when you're in a relationship with a man, even if that man is amazing and healthy and strong, what can happen is we can sometimes start to slowly slip into the mothering role with him. And it's a slippery slope, but it's not good. It's not good for the relationship, and it's not good for your guys' attraction. And I know it feels terrible to feel like his mother. So next, you should go watch this video. Stop acting like his mother, become his muse, if you want to stay in that magnetic feminine energy and stay in that receiving energy. So I'll see you over there, or I'll just see you next time in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.